All right, week 5 of Run the Fucking North. We got Jason, we got me. Let's get right into it with the Go Ball. We're going to sum up the games that we watched. I'm going to start with the Vikings. Jason's going to do the Bears. So let's dive right into it. Go Ball for the Vikings. I think all the fans can relate to the fact that we just escaped that game. That's the only way I can describe it. We escaped. We didn't win nearly as decisively as we did, but you know what? We got a win in London. We fended off future Hall of Famer Aaron Rodgers. It wasn't pretty. Our defense completely bailed us out. I think we're all very glad that we're going into the bye week next week because Sam Darnold looked terrible after getting clobbered. And there's a lot of things that have to get worked out, but overall, we'll take the win. We got out of it.
I can dig it. Do we want to pause or keep going?
Keep going.
All right. Solid 30 seconds there. So we have Bears-Vikings. This was supposed to be the game. I'm sorry, Bears-Vikings. Bears-Panthers. This was supposed to be the game that was going to tell us who won that trade. It was the number 9 pick and a whole bunch of picks for Bryce Young. Well, he got his ass benched. Andy Dalton, the Red Rifle, comes in for the revenge game because Bears had Andy Dalton, then we signed Fields or drafted Fields, and that was the end of that. So Bears won this game convincingly, 36-10. I said before the game, I needed to see the Bears drop 30 to even begin to feel good about this. I understand there's been struggles. Caleb has been progressing throughout the last few years. The offensive line has been shit. We know the defense is going to play well. We know that Panthers suck. They've had a little bit of offensive life, and their entire defense was decimated. Okay. We get into the game. Panthers come down, drive the ball, score first, 7-rip. After that, Bears scored 27 unanswered points and then end up with 36-10, I believe it was. Now, we saw some explosive plays. Panthers were actually doing a good job stopping explosive plays throughout the year. Bears had none coming into that game. We saw 4th and 1 stopped with our power back. That was embarrassing. I blame the back more than the line. Kind of crazy, but we'll take it. You saw Caleb Williams very comfortable. You saw the pass rush get after it. 99's a stud for the Bears. You haven't seen big numbers from Sweat yet, but everybody else is playing well. Our defensive secondary is locked down. Now, one thing I can say about the Bears this week and this season, well, I guess not this season, but this week, is that they won the game they're supposed to win. I feel no better this week than I did last week. It was nice to see them actually do it because they haven't done that, but we play Jacksonville in London next week. Then we have Arizona. We play, then we get into our conference games. I think we can play Patriots in there once, twice. We didn't go backwards. And I'll tell you right now, we were not moving the ball like that with Fields as our quarterback. I'm never bringing that up again. But I think this is just the appropriate step, but it's not. You see some guys getting all homer on this. I'm not there yet.
Heard that there's a little spiciness in that take that you're not any happier. I was watching sort of from afar. I was building a desk while watching the game, so I was a little distracted. But we'll dig into that in a minute here when you do the full Bears dive in. Sure. For now, let's jump into our hot takes. I only have one, and it's not too hot of a take. I'd rate this medium on the spicy scale, but you're seeing a stat rolling around that 5-0 teams, the Vikings are 5-0. 5-0 teams make the playoffs 89% of the time. The last time a 5-0 team didn't make the playoffs, can you guess, Jason?
Something to do with the Vikings, I'm going to guess.
2016 Vikings. Oh. So my hot take is these Vikings are the same goddamn Vikings teams I've been watching for 31 years. I think the wheels are going to come off, especially with how the game ended. Sam Darnold looked awful. I will attribute it to the big hit he took, that he was down on the ground. He came out for a play. Nick Mullins threw a crazy pass to Aaron Rodgers. But that's my hot take is we are very well that same 2016 team. I think there's a great chance we don't make the playoffs because, let's face it, Jason, we've seen it before. Vikings, hot take, not going to make the playoffs.
That is the most weathered Minnesota type answer I've ever heard.
Yep. We've been here before. I think it's completely reasonable hot take. And maybe I'll look foolish. Hopefully I'll look foolish and we just keep crushing. But we've been here before. I know what to expect. Things weren't trending in the right direction at the end of the game.
Fair enough. I mean, that's something that's been difficult for you guys just because you've been up in so many games. You've had the lead all year. So it's definitely a different vibe late in games when you're supposed to be up.
Yep. All right.
All right. I got a hot take for you.
Yep.
Defense was sweet first half. I really loved that all-out blitz, and you had Van Ginkel dropping into coverage. That was one that Rodgers never misses. Pick six to the house. That's the type of schematic mastery that we've come to see from Flores this year and last. My hot take, he will not be a head coach next year. I don't think he's going to, I think more from his part, he's not going to be able to overcome the Tua issue as a coach previously. Now, we've seen some other coaches come back after a second try and improve, especially the areas that they've had issues with. Now, I don't want to say your take is completely right. The Vikings are going to crumble, but gosh, it would feel good. And I think his defense getting figured out halfway through the season is going to be part of that.
Beautiful. I love it. That is a hot take. We can dig into it more. But before we get more in depth, final short segment, Crown 'em, where we're crowning our favorite players or maybe unsung heroes of the week. Mine, anyone that is actually watching this already knows, number 30, Mr. CJ Ham. Mr. CJ Ham scored a touchdown. You got to love it when the fullback scores a touchdown. The dude's one of the longest tenured Vikings on the team at this point. It's like him and Harrison Smith. He's my dude. Obviously, who buys the fullback jersey besides this guy? He's just a good guy. I love the unsung heroes. Love the fact that he scored. But I will say, I'd be remiss to not, give Stephon Gilmore his crown for that game-sealing interception. There's a huge feeling of dread when you see the end of that game, Aaron Rodgers marching down the field. I was wishing, praying, hoping for a turnover. I didn't think we were going to get it, but thank you for Stephon Gilmore for bailing out the old Vikings team there. So he'll get a crown as well.
Well, I love the CJ Ham one because he is Minnesota homegrown, baby. We love that.
That's right. We love a homegrown player.
Love that. So I got a couple. I'm going to rip them out quick here. Number one, I'm crowning DJ Moore. Obvious reasons. Revenge game. Played well. 8 targets, 5 catches, 105, and 2 touchdowns. It could have been way more. He had a 15-yard comeback that was in his hands, room to run. He had separation. Might have got away with a push-off. Hit him right between the numbers and the hands. Dropped it. He was on the press conference. He was getting grilled for that, and he knew it. He owned it, but he knew it. It could have been way bigger day like we saw against Washington last year. But I'm still going to crown him because that was epic. When he first got traded to the Bears, he was not happy to be here. Had to go because that was part of the contract. Now, 2 years later, he sees where both franchises are. I'm sure he's happy. Also, number 1 contract in Bears history. DJ Moore crowned.
Beautiful. Hit me with another one.
Number 2, I am crowning. I haven't decided if it's going to be Kyler Murray or if it's going to be the makers of Black Ops 6. We all know the controversy with Kyler Murray last year. Before the contract, he's gotten dinged for having a massive drop-off in play in October. Call of Duty has been the reason, so to say. That's been the rumor going out there. The other rumor is that, so to say, they've also had clauses in his contract saying he cannot play Call of Duty during the season. True or false? I don't know, but they've decided to take him on, make a big deal about it, and sponsor it. There's a video on YouTube, which is hilarious. If we can post it, we'll post it here. So I'm going to give Kyler Murray for taking the negative and saying, F you, here's what we're doing. I don't care. I'm playing a game.
I love him leaning into the Call of Duty stuff. We can dig into that more, but hit me with your last crown him.
Last crown him. Another one not on the Bears, but it's going to go to the night game that was delayed last night. Almost went in overtime. Dallas-Pittsburgh. I am crowning teammate Tyler Smith for the report, and I am crowning Jalen Tolbert for the action. So if you didn't watch the game, it was a close game, back and forth. Wasn't a great game to watch, but final seconds, 4th down, last play of the game. Dallas comes from behind to win. Touchdown play to Jalen Tolbert. Now, side by side at his locker, left tackle, Tyler Smith on the game-winning touchdown pass from Dak to Tolbert. And I quote, bro, it was miraculous. JT literally sprained his fucking nuts. Excuse me. Sorry, guys. Sprained his nuts the play before. Then comes back, makes the game winner. Unbelievable. Shout out Tyler Smith, crowning Jalen Tolbert. That's love in the locker room, man. Winning games heals a lot of problems. All-time interview moment right there. Absolutely.
Well,
Those are our crownums.
Beautiful. Love it. Everyone deserves that crown. Maybe Tyler Smith more than anyone else for that beautiful moment of NFL history. So now that we get
Tolbert with the sprained nutsack. I mean, that's
I gotta go back and watch. I ashamed to say I did turn the game off in the fourth quarter because I knew CeeDee Lamb wasn't bailing me out of my fantasy deficit. So I didn't see him sprain his nutsack, but now I'm curious what the hell he did there.
That is the medical term. That is the professional PT language, I'm told. So good for him.
Beautiful. Well, now that the short form content is over, let's dive into this Bears game. I'm curious, is that a DJ Moore jersey?
No. Receiver, not DJ Moore.
Brandon Marshall. Oh, yeah. You know what? I actually just saw
of online China order, 15 years with the boys in college.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Well, I thought that might have been a DJ Moore jersey, and I thought you might have express ordered it after this game. So tell me about it.
So, like we said in the short, it started out, all the scripted plays for Carolina went well. Dalton was clicking. Their run game was going good. They actually scored their touchdown on a 38-yard touchdown, run up the middle, Chuba Hubbard, untouched. Oh, my gosh, here we go again as a Bears fan because we haven't won the games we're supposed to win. We know we have the better roster. We know our coaching staff were not pleased with it. And we know we have to play a good game. We have to see real life out of the offense, not because they're bad, but because they're worse than bad. And throughout the course of that game, they got worse because all of their defensive line was out. They had no linebackers to speak of. They were all in their second, third linebackers, and the secondary couldn't hang. So we outclassed them offense to defense throughout. But it just didn't feel right. The game felt good. You were never too worried halfway through, but really it just, here we go again. Same old Bears was really, really a vibe throughout that game. Positive notes, though. Swift had another impressive statistical game. DJ Moore was good. They didn't really need to diversify, but I mentioned earlier, they had 6 or 7 explosive plays, which means 20-plus yards rushing or receiving. That's something that the Bears were dead last or maybe 31st in coming into this week. That's some of the identity that they needed to find. Now, going into the London game, do they have an identity? Not yet, or at least not one that is a convincing one that you want to hang your hat on. It was cool to see some young players get some action too. Javon Dexter, our second-year defensive tackle, was in Dalton's face, throwing him around all game. He had 2 half sacks. Austin Booker, rookie out of Kansas this year, 5th-round pick. He had a sack. Our DBs are playing lights out. I'm not sure if that's because schematically they were superior or the Panthers receiving core was not doing well. I will say number 5, Deontay Johnson, was open pretty much all game, but he couldn't.
Why did they throw it to him? He was sitting on my roster. My fantasy roster, I was waiting for him.
Mine too. He had the number 1 amount of targets at 6. He only had 3 catches for 23 yards. So I'm going to give that. They were in the vicinity. They were in his catch radius, but for whatever reason, he couldn't haul them in. Yeah. So Caleb Williams looked a lot more comfortable to me.
Yeah. What, 300 yards passing? When's the last time the Bears had a 300-yard passing quarterback?
2 weeks ago, 363, or against the Colts, 363 yards.
Did he do that?
Before that, I think Fields did it twice. Yeah, he did. And that was where you're coming in playing a team that's like bottom 25 in rush defense. And we just decided that we were going to be smarter than everybody else and throw the ball 50 times. And we still lose the game. So I don't know. That's not something I'm about. I mean, really just do what you're supposed to do. I will say last week and this week, that scenario came to fruition most of the time in that you got short distance to go, 3rd and 4th down. They went power and they ran the fucking ball. Thank you. I'm done with this gun run out of shotgun in very short yardage manage. They put in the heavy set. They have our backup center as the fullback. I mean, they are pounding the rock.
Oh, I missed that. They have the backup center as the fullback?
Yeah, they were doing it last week too. They used him as a tight end in motions as well.
They must like this guy. Who's the backup center?
Doug Kramer Jr., I think.
That's a name.
A lot.
That's a name that fits a center. Doug Kramer.
Absolutely.
He's going to be a Hall of Famer. I'm calling it right now. That's my new hot take.
Oh, jeez. We'll take it because we need a center. We need just about everything on the offensive line, but we'll take it. Fun fact was, this is the first time the Bears have been above 500 since week 3 of the 2022 season.
Wow.
So let's just let that one sink in as I'm talking about how butthurt we have been and how used to crumbling we've been. I mean, it's even been that way since Lovey. So that was, a decade ago, or actually more. Holy cow.
We're old.
And then the other fun fact I got for you is Caleb Williams is the first Bears rookie to win 3 of his first 5 games or first 5 starts over the last 20 seasons.
Who was that before him? Was Grossman?
It would have been Grossman.
Incredible.
Good memory for a non-Bears fan. Nice job.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Wasn't that the year you guys went to the Super Bowl? And you had the Devin Hester kick return in the Super Bowl, if I'm remembering correctly?
It was a couple years after that, but you're not far off. Yeah. It was not his rookie year. We would have been all over that.
Yeah. Well, tell me the good, tell me the bad, tell me the ugly. I mean, again, I watched from afar. The box score seemed positive, so why aren't you so positive on this team?
Well, honestly, I think it's an incomplete because the Panthers are just that bad. To be honest, they had some momentum. They had some momentum. They're that hurt too. So they lost their starting center. Clowney went down. They were already missing their middle linebacker and D tackle for the season. Wanham hasn't even played yet this year, and that's a guy I wanted the Bears to pursue in free agency. So pressure.
Wanham's not anything special.
Right, but as a rotational guy, I wanted to be our 3rd or 4th guy. I mean,
sure.
that's the guy that they're rolling out there that's supposed to be starting. So, again, you've got nothing. The only guy I knew was the corner, J.C. Horn. Everybody else was a backup or some guy I've never heard of, which is saying something, especially on defense. So, I'm going to say that's why I'm not so high. For the first time, they did what they're supposed to do, so I'm going to give them a plus on that. But
as in just like winning somewhat convincingly. It looked like a convincing win to me, but you maybe didn't think it was so convincing.
Okay, they won. There's no question about it. But if this game was going down 21-17, 17-13, I would be fuming calling for heads right now. And just because they did this doesn't mean if that type of situation goes next week on a very vulnerable Jacksonville team that is trending down with a coach on the hot seat in London, there's so many variables for that. Jacksonville should suck because they're another franchise that we're just used to underachieving always. They had one good season back when they had Calais Campbell and Ramsey and Blake Bortles. Like, that's it. So even next week, we win next week of all those factors. Okay, they're starting to win. They're going to look good at 4-2 if they win next week. But really, who'd you beat? Who would you play? What have you learned? Do you still, after 6 weeks, even have a convincing identity yet? Now we're already past the quarter way through the season mark, believe it or not. We've had 3 preseason games and 5 regular season games now.
Yeah, I mean,
if you don't know by now, it's starting to ask questions.
I can already see the headline in the comments that would have happened if you guys lost to the Panthers. All right, headline: Matt Eberflus on the hot seat. Comment: what losing to it would be what losing to Andy Dalton does to a motherfucker. That's the comment right there. Because you see it every year. A team that's like in that weird in-between spot. There's like coaching changes or a big QB change. They're trying to push for a winning season, and then they lose to a bad team. And that bad team a loss to a bad team will put that coach on the hot seat in the media. Every fan is going to be calling for his head. So I'm glad you guys avoided that at least. Eberflus lives to see another day. But yeah, that next week against Jacksonville will be interesting. That's another one where it's a London game, and London is just such a huge wild card. So I did some sports gambling. I told you about this the first time 2 weeks ago.
Yep.
A lot of it was on Vikings players. This week I was like, I'm not touching anything that's going on in London because you have no idea what's going to happen in London.
Well, part of it's been in recent memory. The London games have been the equivalent of like a Thursday night football. Now we've had some good games this year, but before that, you write this game off. Good team, bad team. It's going to be under 20 points. It's going to be just a brutal watch. One thing I'll give the Bears right now, logistically, they decided to go today. They left today, a week ahead of time. In years past, they were going 2 days before, and that's really screwed up some things. Because again, I just got back from international travel myself. It takes a couple of days to even get acclimated. And that's for me to get out of bed and go have like a couple cocktails with breakfast and like walk around in the sun.
Not hit a bunch of 300-pound guys.
Yeah, go get in a fucking car crash 90 times over 3 hours. Like that's not the same thing. So I'll give him props to that. Hopefully that helps. But I think that's a good segue to talk about your game coming up, unless you got any more Bears questions.
I got 2 Bears questions.
Fire away.
First one, you talked about DJ Moore a lot. I thought there were some stories going around from last week where he was looking very dejected on the bench. Do you think this is, even though he hasn't been a dramatic, diva wide receiver, do you think maybe that resulted in him getting some more looks? Granted, he only had 5 receptions, 8 targets, not too bad. Do you think him... Just tell me what you think about DJ Moore. Is he maybe a little upset about his position in the system? Did it result in him getting some more targets? What are your thoughts on DJ Moore going forward?
I think he's going to be fine. They say money defines your person. Doesn't define your personality. It just makes it more of what you are. If you have more of it, you become more of the thing that you are. Good, bad, evil, the Captain America type thing, right?
Sure. I haven't heard that before, but I like it. I think that makes a lot of sense.
Because if you're an asshole, you're an asshole. You're just going to be a rich asshole. If you're kind, you're going to be, generous. You're going to tithe. You're going to donate. You're going to, all those personalities.
But yeah, Stephon Diggs wasn't a diva until he got his first contract.
No, he knew to shut his mouth and get going. Now he's the one that's apparently fooling around with Cardi B, who's 8 months pregnant. So
who?
Fun. That was today's news. Cardi B, the artist.
Cardi B, really? That's funny as hell. I can see that.
100%, dude. But with him, I think now these are, I don't want to label them as excuses, but they are just things to be aware of. Got a new system. The OC clearly is still trying to figure out who his personnel is. To me, that's late in the season to be figuring out who they are and what they can do.
Yep.
And then he's also going backward on a rookie quarterback. He had 2 years with Justin when he had his biggest season yet. And now you've seen the issues was miscommunications. Caleb was doing one thing, DJ was doing another thing. Was it a veteran thing? Was it outside the system? We don't know. We're not in the locker room. We're never going to know. But he's owned it. It's like, hey, if it didn't come to me on that touchdown last week, like I was going to get over there and get on him and like, hey, dude, this has got to come back to me, match up, and I know the read. Like it's got to come to me. So that's not selfish football. That's knowing your personnel. So far, I don't see any of these as red flags. I think that's an easy clickbait thing for the media to get on, especially the guys that have never been in a locker room as a player. That type of shit doesn't come out if they're winning. And that type of shit's the stuff that players just figure out, and you should never really know about it, honestly. So right now, we'll keep checking in on it because it's something to definitely pay attention to. But winning cures all, and
that's right.
There's not much more to say on that right now, I think.
Okay.
All right, what's the next one?
Question 2. Help me figure out this Chicago Bears backfield because DeAndre Swift had a big game. I've had my eye on Roschon Johnson strictly like for fantasy purposes since last season. I guess I'm curious. 2-part question, like how legit is Roschon Johnson? Maybe a 3-part question. How legit is Roschon Johnson? I guess how legit is DeAndre Swift? And maybe do you foresee Roschon Johnson overtaking that lead role? Does he have the skill to do it? I know right now he's kind of the power back. DeAndre Swift, more of that scat back. Help me make sense of this Bears backfield.
I can try, but I'm still trying to figure it out myself, to be honest. Swift is still learning the system too. He's used to being more of a jitterbug, and this is a one cut and go downhill type of zone scheme.
Yeah.
So I mean, he's the scat back. He's the guy, the speed, the explosive. Roschon's the change of pace, the short distance guy. That seems right. We didn't see a ton of Roschon last year, being a rookie last year, and he was banged up a bit too, so he missed time.
Mm-hmm.
He has done really well in the short yardage stuff, and he's done well as a change of pace back. I am frustrated that he did not get that for 4th and 1 downhill. They did the classic split back, and they did a half back or a fullback belly to him as Swift went in motion over the top. So they got actually really good movement on the line. The hole was a mile wide for a split second, which again, that's massive in the NFL. He was one-on-one in the hole with a rookie linebacker. If you can't get 1 yard on that, and he's not a downhill linebacker, he's a smaller guy, and he's gotten no reps this year. I'd be pretty miffed if I was that team, and especially the offensive line, who's, again, I've been dogging them all year.
Or that offensive coordinator that called that play that's like, man, you're making me look bad. You needed 1 yard. I mean, you're lined up in the hole with some guy you should have been able to run over, and instead you're falling short.
Yeah, if you know ball enough, you're not bagging anybody but the running back on that one. I mean, the offensive line did their job surprisingly. The call was unique, but it was effective. It was a bang bang quick hitter, which again falls in line with the principles of what I'm saying: under center, in short yardage, and downhill. And so that was all
Mhm.
that. So you just got to be able to make that guy miss. And I'm kind of stealing a little bit from Brian Baldinger, who was saying something very similar. Um, yeah, I'd be pissed. So I don't know. And what's actually shocking to me, the last couple of years, our running back has been Khalil Herbert, who is not banged up and is nowhere to be found.
Yeah, he's there too, and yeah, they're not using him
To
at
further
all.
solidify the point. Yeah. And he's perfect for that. He's not ever going to break your long one because he's not fast enough, but he has the vision and the awareness for that one cut and go. Um, I felt that would have spelled a little bit better than Swift, but I'm really not sure. And to finalize the point of Waldron's still figuring it out with who his running backs are, who his personnel is. To start the season, the first two games, we saw way too much of a special teamer, Travis Homer, in the backfield. The only reason
Mhm.
he's not playing right now is that he's hurt. He's on IR. So when he comes back, I'm concerned that he's going to try and get him reps because they were together in Seattle. But there's no
Ah,
reason I don't even believe the guy should be on the roster, to be quite
interesting.
honest with you.
For what reason? Just
Absolutely.
lack of
Well,
speed, skills,
he's not a running back,
knowledge.
he's a special teams guy. He's a special teams guy. He really is. I would take any of our four. I would take Velus Jones as a running back who can't hang on to the ball for nothing over Travis Homer because at least Velus has the body and the willingness to block and he's explosive speed. I'll take that over Travis Homer. Can't block, can't really wiggle. I mean, end rant there. I just hope it doesn't go back to bite us. And at this rate, yeah, you want depth throughout the season because it's a long season. But I don't see why you don't trade Khalil Herbert for like a 5th-round pick to Dallas or
Just
some
trying to get
running back
something.
team that's
Yeah.
trying to be relevant. Hell, even Cincinnati can't even run the ball. They might be out of it now that they're 1-4, but those two running backs aren't getting anything done either.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's a good point. I might ask a little bit more about it in the fantasy section at the end, but that helps a little bit. So,
All right.
should I talk about the Vikings?
All right, let's transition there. I'll set it up for you this way. Remember that it was an 8:30 Central Time game kickoff for those fans. It was in London at Tottenham, where the Bears will be next week. They're playing the Jets. Jets are trying to find an identity still, but they're playing Aaron Rodgers, who knows the Vikings well. You had
Yep.
some comments in your 60-second take. To start the show, let's get into it.
Yeah, I'll say everything that I'm about to say is tempered by the fact that I think the Jets do have a good defense. I think they have, if not a top 5, definitely a top 10 defense, which we were able to navigate, kind of. I think the headline here is that Brian Flores' defense once again bailed out the offense. If Andrew Van Ginkel doesn't get that pick 6, it's a completely different game, and honestly, probably a game that the Vikings lose. Now, caveat that with that play by Van Ginkel was absolutely a devilish scheme up by Brian Flores. I don't know if you watched the play closely.
Yes.
Obviously, Brian Flores loads a lot of guys up on the line to disguise things. Not only did he do that, but the play starts. Aaron Rodgers hikes the ball. Andrew Van Ginkel acts. He leans in. He's going to blitz. And then he drops back into that zone that he knows that Aaron Rodgers is going to attack if you think a blitzer is coming from that side. Like, even me as a fairly novice football mind can see how brilliant that is. Like, it was just trickery. It's like, because Aaron Rodgers, he knows, okay, if a blitz is coming from the right side, let me throw quick to the right side. And Brian Flores it seemed like he just totally played him on that defensive play call. Like, it was beautiful. I don't think I've seen that yet this Viking season, like that specific defensive play call. It worked beautifully. And Andrew Van Ginkel, here's a hot take. He might be up for Defensive Player of the Year if he keeps playing like this. His only problem is he doesn't have any name recognition is the only problem. But Brian Flores obviously has a lot of trust in this guy. And he knows that Andrew Van Ginkel knows how this game is played. So I probably should have crowned Andrew Van Ginkel too, because that was a crazy play. However, Vikings, again, we've seen this 2, maybe 3 weeks in a row now where we get off to that hot start And then the second half, the wheels just fall off the goddamn bus. And I think it's bringing a lot of concerns to me and Vikings fans, where it's like, why can't, when we need the offense to close out games, again, this has been a common theme for the last at least 2, maybe 3 seasons, the offense has struggled to close out games. There's a few elements of that in this game in particular. If you watch the entire game, you look at Sam Darnold's performance, like, things fell off a cliff. We've never seen Sam Darnold look this bad on the Vikings, like just pure inaccuracy. And there's diving deeper, maybe a few things going into that. Obviously, that London Stadium, that soccer field, sometimes it affects the traction that players have. And I think teams know to prepare for this. They get like the longer cleats, so they have better traction. I thought maybe that played into some of his incompletions, where maybe the receivers aren't getting out of their cuts fast enough. Receivers aren't taking the angles they usually do because they don't have that traction. It's affecting their angle of their cut. But a lot of those passes were just really inaccurate passes, which is a cause for concern. Backing up, Sam Darnold took a huge hit in, I think it was the end of the first quarter, maybe the beginning of the second quarter, and he just did not look the same after that. Again, he had to come out for a play. Nick Mullins came in through a crazy wheel route to Aaron Jones. Might have been a touchdown if it was more accurate, if he led him a little better. Could have been a touchdown. Right. But I'll give the offense some grace, because it really seemed like Sam Darnold was not the same after that hit. As soon as, because I think he was like 5 for 6 passing before that hit. And after that, his accuracy was like 30% or 40%. It was ugly. It's almost like watching primetime Christian Ponder, where every time he put the ball in the air, it was just really inaccurate. So obviously that's a bit concerning. Hopefully, I don't know if we can even hope to chalk that up to him getting banged up, because then maybe he's really injured. Maybe he's dealing with that for the rest of the season. Now, we finished the first half. We have a nice lead. And then, of course, we've seen this before as Vikings fans, that Jets team starts chipping into the lead second half. And our offense just isn't capable of getting that extra touchdown on the board to really give us a comfortable lead, help put that game away. And again, maybe Sam Darnold's banged up, but I think what everyone really wants to see, at least what I want to see as a Vikings fan, is maybe best case scenario, next game, we come out of this bye, we're rested up, we're healed up, we have some time to look at the mistakes. I think what really needs to happen at this point is, I think KOC needs to bail Brian Flores out of a game. Not that this is the perfect scenario, but I think the second best scenario, besides us just blowing out an opponent, is our offense needs to bail us out of a total shootout. We need to see a game where we win like 45-42. So it'll make us feel better about the team as a whole. Because right now, even just, I don't know if morale is the right word, but you got to imagine on that team, if the defense has to keep bailing out the offense, at a certain point, they're going to turn to the offense and be like, hey guys, you got to win us a game. And that's really what I'm looking for moving forward, is like the defense has to have a down game, and for the offense to then win it for the defense. When, again, the defense gives up 30 or 40 points, we need that offense to come out and win a ball game like that. I think that's what everyone's looking for right now, because, again, this isn't sustainable. You can't count on a pick six every other game.
Well, that's something too. The Bears are kind of getting a different position in the season, but it's the same deal. The defense is playing really well, bailing them out. Okay, well, the morale of the team needs this, because you just can't do it for that many weeks in a row. I think that's a really good point for especially teams where the defense is leading. You're spot on there, in my opinion. Keep going.
Yeah, I think that's the main point. As far as like individual performances, there's really not too much to talk about. I thought something I'll highlight, which has been great to see, is the offensive line has looked real nice, especially compared to around the league, where offensive line talent has been, the league has just been devoid of offensive line talent. It seems like 75% or more of the teams in this league have a below average offensive line, which is, how does that work? It's more than half of the league has a bad line. And so it's been really nice to see, the PFF grades came out. Who knows how much, weight you give to those PFF grades. Brian O'Neill right at the top, our right tackle. Great to see him. And just based on watching the game, yeah, I didn't, offensive line is one of those positions, kind of like cornerback, which I'll touch on too. Offensive line is one of those positions where if your name isn't getting called out by the announcers, you're probably doing a good job,
right.
Which I'll extend that point right now to Stephon Gilmore. We made that pickup at the beginning of the season. When we were talking preseason, I was like, what the heck are we doing? Like, do we really need this old, somewhat expensive guy? Like, are we really going to be competitive? Apparently the coaches knew more than I did, but he's a guy that he just hasn't really had his name called a lot in these early weeks. And then you see why you get him. We're 4-0 back against the wall against the Jets on this last drive. You need the defense to come up with a big stop. They've charged down the field, and Stephon Gilmore makes a play that honestly probably not a lot of defensive backs can make. Like that showed both veteran savvy, good ball skills, and just skill overall to make that play. So shout out Stephon Gilmore. But again, you can't be counting on that play to win the game. You really want to see your offense close out those games, and we didn't see that this week. We didn't see it last week. So I think moving forward, we need to see, coming out of this bye week, we're most likely getting TJ Hawkinson back, which we really haven't. We've barely seen our tight ends featured in the offense. Technically Josh Oliver is our TE1. Mm-hmm. He might have like 5 receptions on the season. Johnny Munt, our tight end 3, I think has more receptions than him, and he's known as a blocking tight end. TJ Hawkinson is our receiving tight end. And so I think to get him back in the lineup, fans are going to be, they're going to feel better if TJ Hawkinson comes in, scores a touchdown, gets a few receptions, push that offense, and that offense really, maybe doesn't even win the game, but at least keeps the game out of hand. I don't even know who we're playing coming out of the bye, to be honest with you. I'd have to look that up.
Sure, I have it right here. Hang on, the page is loading because I was just looking up stats. Munt has 9 catches and a touchdown, and then Oliver has 4 catches and a touchdown.
Yeah, exactly. And Munt's our tight end 3. So, how does that work?
Well, Hawkinson played pretty great before the injury, so I'm not too terribly worried. But I could definitely see, again, each team has a different identity. I'm with you on that.
Yeah.
Week 6, you got a bye week, which is this coming Sunday.
Yep, we need it.
Sunday the 20th, week 7. You are at US Bank Stadium for your second divisional game, first against the Lions.
So that'll be a great test. That'll be a very enlightening game. I bet we're going to have a great podcast after that one, regardless of how it goes, because that'll be a slugfest. Gosh, I'm blanking on his name right now, but the head coach of the Lions, Dan Campbell, he's going to come ready to that game. Hopefully, as a Vikings fan, they're a little more banged up than us coming out of that. But
sure, I'm excited. Go ahead.
I'm going to say I think that game will set the tone for the rest of the season. Because again, the last time a 5-0 team missed the playoffs was the Vikings, and being a Vikings fan, you need something that breaks that tradition. That breaks that curse a little bit. You need to see something you haven't seen before. And if we can hit that 6-0 mark against a strong Lions team, that'll go a long way for the fan base. Even if we drop a couple after that, I think if we can notch that 6th win, break that curse from the previous 2016 5-0 team, I think that goes a long way for morale and fan base engagement.
I'm with you on that. That's something. So next week we play Jacksonville, and week 7 is our bye week. So I'm going to have a chance to watch that game in full. I have not had a chance to watch all the Vikings games because Bears games at the same time. Mm-hmm. Admittedly, I did not get a chance to watch this week's game because I was asleep. I spent the night before at the Gophers game versus USC.
Oh,
boy. We watched that upset. So we stayed out all night and celebrated.
Yeah, and you got to figure after the Gophers get a big win against a big opponent that the Vikings are going to fumble. But Minnesota sports just aren't used to this level of success in football, at least.
So before the game started, and this is actually Saturday while we were tailgating, I was talking with some buddies, and In the international series prior to yesterday's game, the Vikings were 5-0 and had never lost in the international series.
Yeah, I didn't thought about that,
going.
but that's totally right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. They had kept it going. So one of the other questions I was preparing for you, and now we kind of have an answer after seeing the stat line. So the first 4 weeks, the Vikings had only trailed for 4 minutes the entire season.
Yeah.
Crazy. All of their sacks came with a lead. So that's definitely one style of defense where if you're playing with a lead, you get to be more, I don't want to say carefree, but you get to be way more aggressive.
You can get after the quarterback because you know they're going to be passing more.
Absolutely. And I wanted to know and kind of wanted to track, did that hold up today? And I saw they had 4 sacks for 36 yards negative, which, again, against a quarterback like Aaron Rodgers, who's usually very scheme sound, meaning he's getting the ball out. He knows where his checks are. Obviously, we were talking about one of those hot routes. He threw that pick to Van Ginkel, who was sitting in the hole, because you were right. How to beat the blitz? Run, you run right at it. How to beat the blitz with the pass? You pass right into it. And that's, the guy got caught lurking, and it paid off. But I also look at some of these other stats. They had 6 punts, and then Rodgers uncharacteristically threw 3 picks. So, I mean, that's definitely something that is affected by pass rush. The thing that I thought was interesting, and trying to analyze this just from the box score, a lot of fucking penalties, dude. Vikings had 11 penalties for 80 yards. Jets had 8 penalties for 76 yards. So as a casual fan, you're probably sitting there like, oh, well, that kind of evens out. Like, this, so same backward, forward. Okay.
I got such a hot take for this. All
right, you take it. Go.
And you reminded me of one other thought I had during the game where I saw it this season, and I actually saw it last season, and it's not something I've ever seen before. But the Vikings currently have a friendly ref whistle. And okay. Looking at the box score, you're like, oh well, you know, the penalty yards were about even. But here's the thing. Here's my conspiracy theory right now, because the penalties that the Vikings benefited from were very, very weighty penalties, like in third down situations, in goal line situations. They were the beneficiaries of penalties that really helped him out. And then in a couple spots in the game, there was like a Green Bay punt. Well, okay. There's one Green Bay punt. But there was a few where it's like, it seemed like the refs were tacking on penalties to really unweighty plays against the Vikings.
Sure.
Because it's like not all penalty yards are the same, right? When you're 3rd and goal or 4th and goal and you throw the ball and there's a pass interference for, say, 5 yards. Okay, would you take that 5 yards over, I don't know, a different situation where maybe Vikings are up 20 and the Packers are on 1st down and you get like illegal hands to the face on the Vikings defense. And so it makes it 1st and 5.
Yes.
Those are the type of penalties that were coming in against the Vikings where I'm like, this really isn't impacting the outcome of the game too much. And I'm a realist. Like, I'll take it, but like, I'm acknowledging that the Vikings are getting some favorable whistles right now, which is crazy to me. Absolutely crazy to me, because we've never had that really before. Yeah. So that was another big theme I saw from the game, is like the Vikings had a very friendly whistle early on, which allowed us to build that lead. So we'll see. Okay,
exactly.
Go ahead.
Keep going.
No, go ahead.
Well, that's exactly what I was going to come down to. What was throwing me off is because you look at this box score, and TOP, you're off by 30 seconds. So it's dead even.
It's a very even box score.
Total yards, they're off by a yard in favor of the Jets, excuse me. Both, again, it was only 254, 253. So neither team had a consistent run game going, and third down rates were both terrible. So I wasn't shocked to see a 23-17 box score, but I was shocked to see that one of those was a pick six, and just all the back and forth with the turnovers and sacks. It's like, well, no wonder. Was that a London thing? Was that a matchup schematic thing? Was it bad coaching? You know, because like the penalty is a discipline thing. Where's your head at is usually what you're coming at. Now, if it's a good opponent, that's one thing. But if it's a scenario, all of the things that lead to going London overseas, and an opponent you don't ever see often. It seems like a lot of the head game was lost before the game, not before it started, but it always killed momentum. You could never get anything going and nothing that you could mount up to, because we've seen in the few games where the Vikings get early leads, they keep and build that, and then you just put the dagger in the heart early and it's over.
Yeah.
So that could be part of the second half thing too.
Yeah. Well, and it's one of those things where it's like you can call holding or pass interference on any play.
True.
And there was a few of those early on in like the first quarter where I was like, whoa. Like there was a pass interference on Justin Jefferson where I was like, even as a homer, I'm like, I don't think they should have thrown that flag. But at the same time, I was like, NFL wants us to win this game. All right. Like that's how I saw it. I was like,
right.
They want us to score this ball and like really push that win probability up. You see those charts. I'm sure you've seen them where it's like it charts the win probability for each team throughout the game.
Right.
And obviously, maybe this doesn't even make sense, but like if you push that up earlier on, you don't have to call so many of those penalties to control the game. But I definitely got a sense that the referees had an outcome in mind for this game.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, that's usually, and again, you were kind of hitting on this a little bit. It says that's usually the take of a Vikings fan, but the opposite direction against. Not.
It's usually the Packers that are getting those calls.
Hey, no shit.
Or Aaron Rodgers. And Aaron Rodgers didn't even get that call.
Yeah, because the Bears haven't been able to buy a roughing the passer penalty in 10 years, because Trubisky and Fields are always running around like, oh, you're running around recklessly and you got to earn them because you're young. It's like, don't fucking hit him in the head.
The same.
Like, that's a penalty.
Yeah.
What are we even talking about? There's a couple times where even Fields is sliding and he gets absolutely eviscerated. It's like, okay, well, that's an easy 15, and then nothing, and the dude can't even get up.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm saying that to empathize and fuck the Packers.
Yeah. Final thought on that game is I texted you this, but I think if Aaron Rodgers is 10 years younger, you brought up like we didn't really sack him until the second half. I think if Aaron Rodgers is 10 years younger, he probably wins that game. If he's a little more mobile, if he's just a little more nimble, I think it's a different outcome. There's a few sacks. I think half the sacks, like 2 of the sacks, I was like, a younger quarterback might get out of those, but he took a few of those, I'll call them Kirk Cousins sacks, where as soon as he gets touched in the pocket and he sees it crumbling, he's like, give it up. I'll fight. We'll play another down. So that's the other thing is like we got the advantage of playing a 42-year-old quarterback with our super aggressive deep, or 41, however old he is.
Yeah, old as dirt.
Yeah. Okay, that's all I got for the Vikings. Let's talk about NFC North. We've already talked a lot about the Vikings and the Bears. The Lions were on bye. Packers pulled out a win. I wish they didn't. I didn't watch the game at all. I don't know if you did. We don't have to talk about it.
So I got to catch the last 5 minutes. I'll give you 2 seconds on it. It was 24-19 against the Rams. Stafford. So this is where it's a little inflated. There's a play at the end of the game. Jordan Love should have taken a safety, but he threw a pick 6.
Oh, yeah.
So
that was a Will Levis move right there.
Oh, yeah, fucking bonehead. Absolutely. It kept the Rams in the game, and it made it look closer, but really, I don't know what the Rams are going to do. I mean, they're staying in games, but Puka's out, Cup's been out the last 3-4 years consecutively now. They can't get consistent. I mean, Kyron Williams had a good game, but they have a really young defense. And I'll tell you this right now, and this is purely on coaching, is you give the bottom 27 coaches in the league. So take the top 5 coaches out of the equation. You give any of those coaches this roster, they have not won a game yet this year.
Fair.
That's how good McVay is doing right now, just keeping them in games. Stafford is getting absolutely mauled. He's hanging in there. So an argument I heard on the radio today, and I completely agree with, because we've had the benefit and the shame of watching him for so many games now as a Lion and now moving in. He's going to be aggressive with the ball. He's going to make stupid picks. He's going to have sweet plays and bonehead plays, right? He has no choice but to get super aggressive because he has no talent on offense right now. The line is shaky and everybody's hurt. So to keep us in games, I have to try and just muscle this thing in there, which is already some picks.
I'll add in the bits that I did watch for that game. The Rams receivers, I don't know that they were necessarily drops, but they didn't catch a lot of balls that like Puka or Cooper Kupp probably catch. They're like slightly contested, and they just didn't haul it in. And one of them in particular, I think it was Jordan Whittington on 3rd down. Matt Stafford throws him a ball that's catchable, and it's just a little too contested, and he doesn't haul it in. And it's small stuff like that that will make me just say the Packers aren't legit.
Well, and it's something too. Is like Whittington's a rookie in his like third game, right?
Yeah.
But when you have him with 7 catches, you have Atwell with 6 catches, and Parkinson, the tight end, with 7 catches, and that's it. Like, I feel you, Matt Stafford, dude. You threw the ball 45 times and you still couldn't get anything going.
Yeah. Matt Stafford injury incoming because he just doesn't want to fucking play. Although, if anyone wasn't going to fall into that, it would probably be Matt Stafford. But if I was him, I'd be like, damn, I don't want to play with this team right now. Like, I'm just going to get myself hurt. I got kids.
Yeah.
Who's
So
their
next week's
backup
going to be
even?
real interesting because obviously Bears are in. It's our home game, just like you guys had a home game in London. We got Jacksonville 3-2 versus 1-4. Green Bay's 3-2 at home against Arizona, who's 2-3. Played a real good game against the Niners, who are very shaky. I mean, we can't look at them as dominant. I know some injuries too, but wow. And then Detroit comes off a bye to Dallas. Dallas is 3-2 at home. Afternoon game. Detroit's 3-1 off the bye. Detroit favored by 3.5. So, actually, a couple of fun games. This week's slate, honestly, not a lot of great games to get excited about before they happen. A couple of good finishes, but I mean, next week's looks great.
Yeah. Well, let's wrap up with around the league. I know we've been talking about Jaden Daniels a bunch. He keeps it rolling. People are saying he's in the MVP, not just Rookie of the Year, but MVP.
Yep.
I don't know. I thought the Cleveland defense would really get after him, especially given how bad their offense has been. I thought the Cleveland defense would get after him, and they didn't. I watched the game, I did not watch the game. But obviously he went off, scored a ton of points, wasn't even a close one. Is he legit? I'm still not sold on it. I think if he comes up against a competent team, say the Vikings,
that's not for a while, dude. No, they didn't even play the Vikings this year.
Yeah, I don't think they do either. But I think he's going to have a game where shit gets real for him real quick.
Not anytime soon. So we watched. So I said last week, Cleveland defense going to give him some hell. Did not. 34-13. Next week at Baltimore, supposed to give him some hell, but they had a 40-some point shootout with Joe Burrow this week. Like,
yeah.
What was that about? Then they play Carolina, which is atrocious. They're going to look good. Hopefully Chicago gives him some fits the following game because, again, we're still pretty solid and consistent.
That's probably the first real test he's going to get is against the Bears.
Which is in week 8, dude. Week 8. 9, they got the Giants. 10, they got Pittsburgh. So that's another game. But, again, that's another 5 or 6 weeks of development that he's going to have to get. So, and then Pittsburgh, so Philly, Dallas, Tennessee, then their bye is not till week 14. So if they can stay healthy, the rest of that schedule is going to look pretty good.
Yeah.
All right, here you go. Clip this one. Hot take. Next season, 2025, Cliff Kingsbury, Bears coach.
Ooh.
Should have fucking hired him as the OC. I wanted him over Waldron, but, that was kind of more ignorant than anything, more the USC high and the putting the transition would have been smoother with him and Caleb. But now that you see what he's doing with Jaden, he has experience with Caleb. Why the fuck not? I understand we just paid a lot to Waldron, and why wouldn't he be the next guy up? It's just he
hasn't shown anything yet. Okay, I like
Kingsbury
that.
He's coached in the league before. He's shown an ability to adapt his play style to his personnel. He's not quite air raid as much. And then young quarterback, he's proven he can simplify for a team like for a quarterback. Again, drafted 2 overall.
Yeah,
clip it right there. I don't like it, but it's going to happen.
Not only could I see that happening, but I could see that working out real well. So I love that hot take.
Love it.
Cool. All right, fantasy. I don't have much to talk about. Should I pick up Roshan Johnson? Is he worth it?
That depends on who you're dropping. Probably not.
I don't know. Zamir White.
Fuck no. Well, yeah, I would drop Zamir White for Roshan. I don't know if you can get Madison or literally any other running back. Take one of the 3 fucking Broncos running backs over Madison at this rate.
None of them are available.
That's wild. Sorry, dude.
Yeah, I already have Jaleel McLaughlin. I'm not trusting him either. Hey, okay, so how about if DeAndre Swift gets injured? Is Roshan the guy, or is Khalil Herbert going to make a magical return to the scene?
Roshan will be the guy. I just hope that, like my take earlier, is I hope that Homer doesn't get involved ever. But Roshan and Khalil Herbert is what it should have been last year. Was what it was last year until Roshan got hurt. They're both effective. We're still the variable is not the talent. The variable is we're still learning the OC, and he's still learning his players. So
fair.
Volume wise, Swift is hurt. They're not going to stop running the ball. Well, they better not, especially now that they found it. So, where are your teams sitting right now? Are you confident?
My main league, luckily, is showing signs of life. What are we on week 5? I'm 2-2. It's looking like I'll be 3-2. I got reasons to be positive there. I forget why, but my work league is.
I forget why. I love it.
The work league is dude, the guy I'm playing this. First of all, I forgot. Well, I was camping and I did not take Evan Ingram out this week, so I was just playing a goose egg tight end. However, the guy I'm playing, who's 0-4, did not change out Sam Laporta or Jahmyr Gibbs, who are both on bye, and he's gonna fucking crush me. He's gonna fucking crush me this week. So I'm like, yeah.
That's brutal.
I'm working out. I've actually identified a guy at my work that I think we can make a big trade, like a 3 or 4 player trade. I'm looking to, because on the team I have CD, Debo, Deontay, who's CD, Debo, Deontay, at least Khalil Shakir, but I don't think I'm going to start him. I feel like I have one other wide receiver. Anyway, this guy's got Saquon, Josh Jacobs, running back for Denver, Javonte. He also has Tyrone Tracy, who just had an incredible week. Yeah. No touchdowns, but it looked good. So I'm trying to facilitate a trade to him, which I think it would work for both parties. Where I'm gonna give him Debo. I would like Josh Jacobs in return because he has his starting wide receivers this week were like bad. Neither of them got 10 points. So I'm going to try and give him Debo and get some running backs in return. So like the trade I'm eyeing, he also has the Ravens defense, which had -1 points this week. So I'm looking at like Debo, Vikings defense, which like he doesn't know fantasy that well. I don't think he streams defenses. So I'm looking at Debo, Vikings defense, and then one of like either Rashad White or Bucky Irving, or basically Rashad White, Bucky Irving. I hope he doesn't ask for. I also have Braylon Allen. So those 3, one of those 3. And in return, I want Josh Jacobs, Tyrone Tracy, and Javonte Williams, which would leave me with a starting roster. It's aggressive. It would leave me with a starting roster of like, who's my quarterback there? It's I think Kyler Murray. Wide receivers would be like Marvin Harrison Jr., CeeDee Lamb, and like maybe Khalil Shakir if I need to start him. But then my running backs would be Kareem Hunt, who I'm high on. He's won me 2 championships. Casey doesn't have a whole lot of shit going on. So my running backs would be Kareem, hopefully someone like Josh Jacobs. And then my flex would be either like Khalil Shakir or someone else I get in that trade, either Javonte Williams or Tyrone Tracy if Devin Singletary continues to be out. And then I threw in like maybe a tight end swap. I have Evan Ingram. He's got not Tyler Kraft, but like I think the other
Musgrave.
Maybe Musgrave. No, I don't think it's that either. But some other kind of like middling tight end. I don't need him though because I have Hawkinson on IR. So I basically just need like a 1 week rental. But I'm like, we don't need to include tight ends if you don't want Evan Ingram. So We'll see. Family league got absolutely blown out this week. I think I scored like 50 points. My opponent scored 120. That's not everyone. All my starters are on bye or injured. I have like Jared Goff, Jahmyr Gibbs, Malik Neighbors. He was out. I think like a couple other people that were out this week. So I'm not worried about that one too much. I've won the fantasy league, the last 2 or the family league last year. My wife won it the year before. So I'm like, I can let someone else win it and have this ugly trophy. Actually, it's not ugly. I love it. My wife thinks it's ugly, but I think it's beautiful. But someone else can have the trophy this year.
Right. Trophy's a trophy, right?
Right.
All right. I'll give you a quick rundown. Let us know how that trade ends up.
I'll keep you posted
if it goes through. ESPN League, I got smoked, and I ended up playing Geno Smith, who had 22 points over Mahomes. That was a tough thing to decide.
Well, you're never going to start Geno over Mahomes.
Well, Mahomes is, slow first quarter here.
Yeah.
They're playing right now against the Saints. Otherwise, Deontay Johnson, 5.9, DK Metcalf, 7.5. Like, I could have played Darnell Mooney, who got 31.5. I could have played Kyle Pitts, who had 15.8. I could have played Rico Dowdle, who had 19-4. So I could have, again.
Well, hey, listen, at least your bench is getting points. You got some hope because, like, in the work league where I'm just totally effed, no one on my bench scored more than like 7 points.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I got no hope for the future unless I get this huge trade. Okay.
Right.
Chicago related fantasy question.
Yeah.
Roma Dunze.
Don't do it. Okay.
Roma Dunze. I have hope for him. I'm not gonna trade him. I'm not gonna drop him, but like give me some hope here. Like him and Caleb seem to have a connection. Could he be a wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2 by the end of the season? Is he averaging 15 points back half of the season?
He is, with the contingency that he needs some injuries.
Yeah, you need Keenan Allen or DJ Moore to get hurt, and then he's going to pop off.
He's the 3 because he's done it. He did it. He had his big game when Keenan was out.
Yeah.
They have the chemistry, and I think that's part of the thing too, where DJ's like, yo, dude, I'm the $100 million receiver. You throw the ball to me.
Yeah.
The talent's there, but it's going to take some of that. But with Keenan being banged up a little bit, or with a heel's not going to heal. No pun intended. It's just going to be managed throughout the year. DJ takes hits. He tries to run like a running back, and I love it for it, but
he's going to get hurt doing that. Okay.
So hang on to him. Right now, I need Xavier Worthy to outscore Shaheed.
That's it.
I'm 2-2. Yeah, I'm 2. They're like dead nuts even right now. I'm 2-2 versus an 0-4 guy. I cannot give the 0-4 guy his first win. And then I need in the other league. I'm up. Actually, I'm down 7, but I have. That's his team. Wrong click. I'm down 7. He's done. I've got Olave and Kamara going. So I feel like they can get
that feels good.
Points. Yeah.
And I'll say I'll take a Xavier Worthy over Shaheed tonight. I think Andy Reid's seen enough of Shaheed's explosive games where he's like, okay, we're not going to get beat by Rashid Shaheed.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's I'm not. Well, we'll see. I mean, the Matt Nagy curse is just fucking them guys up right now. That whole offense sucks. Like, well, Andy Reid has a say in the plays and da da da. I was like, right, but why is it whenever Nagy's around, the offense sucks?
Mm-hmm.
Tell me that. So I ended up 4th in our daily fantasy league. It's the first time I've been top 10 this year, which sucks.
Yeah.
And then, like I said, I've been out of the guillotine for a while. So
yeah,
fantasy, I'm 2-2, 2-2, 1-4. Could go to 3-2 twice and 1-4. So
I mean, basically the exact same scenario, win and loss column. So I feel you. We'll turn it around. We'll work those waiver wires. We'll work some trades.
Absolutely. Well, it's been my quote unquote mismanagement because my bottom guys are getting points. Oh, Brian Thomas. I have to start Brian Thomas. Remind me next week. I have to start Brian Thomas.
The wide receiver?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I know
you
he's
should.
played the Bears, but he's been torching everybody.
He's good.
It's like, oh, well, it's just 4 catches, but it's 4 catches, 100 yards and a touch every week. So
he's a guy I've been targeting in trades, but the teams that I'm looking at just like I'm looking at a trade and it just wouldn't work out for either team, so I'm not going after him. But he's someone you should start for sure, or like
I had a tough time because it's against the Bears and in London because, like we were talking about, that's just a Thursday night game, and who knows? But
maybe he's the type that likes to get drunk in London. Yeah, you don't know.
I mean, I know I am. So
beautiful. Let's end it on that note right there. Love that. Run the North, week 5. Done.